What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be working on the Colorado. As you guys know from the previous video, this thing has a 5.3 in it. It's a single cab short bed Colorado Xtreme, and they dropped in a drivetrain from 2011 Colorado. So it's a tight fit in here because of the Trailblazer SS intake manifold. And what we're going to be doing today is removing the clutch fan so that we could install a electric fan. So this is what was done to it. They cut the fan shroud, the original one, and they just threw it in here with some screws. Well, not even half of it, because there's a lot of exposed radiator fins or whatever you call these all around. So it's just basically this cover part. What we've done so far, just to get ahead of the video a little bit, was to drain the radiator. So we removed this to get a measurement for the adapter, which I'm gonna show you in a bit, and we removed the hose down there to drain it all out. We're gonna throw some new coolant in here. This is an aluminum radiator for these trucks, so it might be a little issue because it's kind of tight in here, and also the clutch fan sticks out like about an inch past the, or 2 inches past the water pump because of the threads and stuff. We removed this, the 10mm bolt holding this, and this is what we needed to remove that hose. This is why we needed to remove that hose. This is a 36mm adapter, which we're gonna put a sensor here so that the fan could turn on. I'm gonna show you guys what fan we picked up. So this is gonna have to get pulled off. But in order to remove all this, we're gonna have to pull the grill out or off to get to these bolts and screws. And there's 2 screws, one on this side, one on the other side, that hold whatever is left from this fan shroud. Let me show you the fan that we picked up. So this is the fan that we picked up at the junkyard. It is off a Volvo. It's a 2-speed fan. We picked up the relays along with it. This is from like the early 90s to mid 90s Volvo. These fans are super strong for what they are. And we also picked up this temperature switch. So this is what's going to control this fan. You can see that these temperature switches have 3 wires coming out. So one is ground, well, all 3 of them are ground, but one goes to the body or frame or whatever, and the other 2 go connected to this. So this fan works off of these grounds. So when it reaches temperature up there on the switch, it'll turn these fans on. First speed at the first temperature, I believe it's like 180, 190 or something like that. And then the second speed is, I think, like 15 degrees above the first one, higher than the first one, or hotter than the first one. So I brought it with the shroud. I'm almost 100% sure that this is not gonna work, so we're just gonna use the fan off of this. But we brought it so that we could draw the perfect circle, do the cutting, maybe cut out the holes. And then we picked this up. It's a piece of aluminum, so we're gonna try to fit this over the radiator and see what we could do with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull off the front clip off of the Colorado, and then I'll put you guys back on. The whole front clip is basically off. This is one of the screws that's holding onto the radiator fan shroud, and then I have to get to these right here. Might be a little more access to this bolt, and then I'm not even sure if I should be removing this one right here, because it looks like it's holding the line in, sandwiching this together. I have to figure that out right now. For sure this one has to come off though. What else? And this side, on this side, it has another screw back there, so we're gonna have to unbolt it from here, this transmission cooler, and just get it out of the way a little bit so that we could get access to that, which has another bolt right here. And then we'll probably, I don't know, do a different setup for this transmission cooler. We have some time because it has a screw right here, a self tapper, and then it has another type of screw right here. Just clean it up, make it look a lot nicer. Hopefully we have time, like I said. We're also going to be replacing these satellites. That'll probably be in another video though. So I'm gonna get to removing that and see if I can pull this radiator out of the way. We had to remove the little brace, or that little bracket right there, in order for this to move out of the way a little bit so we can get to this screw. Now all we have to do is remove this bolt up here and the bolt holding the condenser to this side, and then this should come off after removing this 13. So this is how the radiator fan shroud was mounted. It was just a top piece, and this is the radiator. So this is what it's looking like now. Next we have to knock out or off the fan clutch from the water pump. It's pretty tight in here. This is from the core support to the alternator. So I'm hoping that that electric fan works, because this is going to be sticking out a little bit, the thread right there. I have this one, it's a 1.5, fits over it. Let's see if it breaks it loose. I'm gonna have to figure something out to hold that pulley in place. So the clutch fan came off. I just put that on there and I hammered it a couple of times, and it actually broke loose from this. But this is what we're talking about. This thing is about maybe an inch and a half sticking out. That's what the clutch fan looks like. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna throw this back in here, and then I'm gonna bring the electric fan, try to see if there's enough space. If I can, I'll show you guys how much clearance we have. And then this, what I'm planning to do is maybe lower it a little bit, just a little bit if I can, because there's barely any room down here. And then instead of this holding onto the alternator, to the radiator, I'm gonna try to make a little bracket to hold it onto the core support, or maybe on this side. I don't know. I gotta bend this line up a little bit because it's touching right there. Bring this side a little lower too. It's just in there dangling. Also zip tie these cables up here for the fog lights, horn switch and all that. The horn and all that. Make it a little nicer, cleaner. So we ran into a little problem. You can see the motor on the fan is actually touching the threads on the water pump. So what I'm thinking of doing is cutting this lip off of the radiator fan. What's this thing called? The core support, radiator support. The radiator support. At least that little lip right there, cutting it off, and then moving this bracket out a little bit, maybe like ½ an inch. That'll give us a little more clearance right there. And also the fan shroud it's gonna be completely flat. There's no space to give it the little extra room that they need, because to do it the right way, it would need like about an inch off of the radiator to cool properly. And also, what I seen in the other video, that little tab right there is for the condenser to slide in. So since we're moving it forward a little bit, we might have to clearance this little section right here on both sides. So we're gonna look into that right now. And yeah, this is gonna have to be bent upwards a little bit, just the line itself on that side. Maybe this one also, just to clear. But I'm gonna get to doing this first. Another possibility would be to get a CTSV or Camaro fan, water pump, which those cars have electric fans and they don't have that thread for the clutch fan. But then we would need the adapters and all that. So we're just gonna run with this and try to make it clear. It's gonna have to clear, there's no other way around this. So we cut this off and they cleared it a little more. Just that I don't know why it's sitting on this side and not on this side. So once we put the bracket back on, we're gonna re-drill the hole. And the fan still is super close. The motor's basically on here. So what we're gonna do, I guess the previous owner was trying to cut this knob off. So we're actually gonna chop it off. We've seen some people online do it, and I think we're just gonna tack weld maybe like 3 or 4 spots on the water pump just to play it safe. Worst case, if this leaks, then we're gonna have to go with the car water pump and the adapters. Take about 1/2 inch, so that should be a bit better. Have to zip tie all this together and then put it up here just so it could be out of the way for now. So I'm gonna do that right now so we could just start test fitting with the radiator again. So this is how much clearance we have, like about 1/2 inch from the pulley to the motor of the fan. And that's with the fan shroud being completely flat. So we're gonna get to measuring the radiator and cutting out the aluminum now. So this is what we got done so far. We marked the center, we traced the original fan shroud, the circle to this. We're gonna cut this with the jigsaw, and then we left these little tabs right here because that's what's gonna go into these little tabs right here. We're gonna use a bolt and a nut right there to secure it. Just that we have to shave it off a little bit because this side doesn't go in. So we're gonna hit it with the flap wheel tomorrow, and then we're gonna space it out a little bit just because we don't want the fan to be super close to the radiator right here. So we have to clean it up. You can see where we're off a little bit all around. And then this piece of aluminum had a couple of holes in it. That's cool, not a big deal. We're gonna use a little piece of some like rubber seal to go all around, and we're probably gonna space it out about 1/4 inch, whatever it's the gap between here and that. Also right here we're gonna make a little tab to hold on to this mounting tab, and we should be good, I hope. It's a little off right there, but no biggie. See right there, little gap. But that little rubber seal should clean it up, or should make it flush actually right against that. This is it's gonna take us some time. We have to kind of go all the way around right on the line. Once we have that cut out, then we'll mount the shroud again to see where we want the holes to be, so we could put some, I don't know, rivet nuts or something. I don't know yet. I don't know exactly how we're gonna mount it, but worst case, we will have to remove these tabs and space it out a little further, and then figure out what we're gonna do to seal it all up all around. We did want to do the little bends because if the fans have this gap right here, that's what makes it cool more, or be more efficient. But like I said, due to the space in the engine bay, we had to do it this way. Also, there's a company that sells an electric fan for these trucks. It's like about 500 bucks, and their fan shroud is pretty much like this. It's just a flat piece of aluminum, and it has spacers right here. So that's basically what we're going off of. And I mean, this should cool way better than what it had on there, so I think should be good. Also with the spacing, I think the little 1/4 inch spacing should be good. So tomorrow, once we have all that cut out and this cleaned up, we'll show you guys what it looks like once it's mocked up. Now we got all this, the center section cut out, and we cleaned up the sides a little bit. Shit. Now this is what it's looking like once it's on the radiator. But we have to space it out because of the screws. We don't want these screws to be touching the radiator on the inside, on this side. You can see this is a little banged up already. But we're going to space it out from here and from down there, like I told you guys in the beginning. So what we're gonna do to mount these, we're using these little, I don't know, like fender clips, tabs, whatever, threaded. So I'm gonna slide these in here like that. And we found these screws that look very similar to the factory screws on the Volvo fan. Then we're gonna mount this on here like that. And this is actually perfect because these cables are off to the driver's side where the battery is gonna be at and all that. So I'm not sure if we're gonna put the power on the fan shroud or if we're gonna maybe bolt it up to the I don't know, like the body or something. I'm not sure yet, but let me put this on real quick right now so I can show you what it's gonna look like. So this is what it's looking like. Got 4 of the mounting bolts, 2 down here, 2 up here. Now we're gonna take all this off. We're gonna wash the fan because it has a lot of grime, and then we're gonna cut the back sides to the screws so they stick out a little bit. See it right there. And then figure out the spacing. We found some bolts long enough so that we could run a little spacer in between the shroud and this. We might even chop this off, we're not sure yet, depending on how much space we need. So we actually decided to mock it up again, and this time on the truck, to see how much space we have. So we need a bigger nut in between that and the bolt and the shroud, and then just to get the actual fan off of the radiator. So I think maybe double that size should be good, and then figure out the bottom so it could be evenly spaced off the radiator. And once that's done, we can finish this up, finding a way to seal this this aluminum piece to the radiator, like this edge right here. I didn't think we were gonna have any space for that, so we just cut it exactly the size of the, well, not exactly, but the size of the radiator. So we have a gap right here. Gotta figure that out. Other than that, it looks like it's pretty much almost getting there. Chopped off the little screw, the head right there, you can kind of see, so it won't come in contact with that. But the actual fan blade itself is pretty close to the radiator. And also we have a little more room right here, because remember we chopped this off, so we're gonna re-drill that hole closer, or we're just gonna make a new bracket just to pull it off of the water pump a little more. So that's what it's looking like. It's gonna be super close, tight fit, but it should work. And like I said, we have the wires off to this side, so that's gonna be pretty good because we're gonna be able to run the ground to this bolt. Then the power is gonna be super close to this. I don't know if we're gonna put the relays here on the body or if we're gonna mount them here. We could even mount them up here like that. We have some space right here, put them right here, and just run the power over to that side. Oh, actually no, I'm lying. We have to run a mini relay or circuit breaker and then run it to the power. So we're gonna run to Home Depot, but before we run to Home Depot, we're gonna drill this out. And I came up with an idea to use 1/2-inch angle aluminum to run all around the edges of this to seal it up, and that should space us out as well. So we're gonna do that, and hopefully we find a little piece of rubber trim at Home Depot to use on the backside of that aluminum, and then we could paint this. And also the mounting for these for this is gonna be like around here. That'll be later on once we get the rest of the stuff done. For now, what we're gonna do is drill this out. We have a 1/2-inch drill bit, and the tap we're gonna use for that is for M14 by 1.5. This is the closest size to what's needed for this tap. It's a 37/64 if I'm not mistaken. The correct size would be 37/64, yeah, or 39/64. Half is a little bit smaller than what's needed. So we're gonna go ahead and drill that so we can use the sensor on here.
Hello.
We checked the chart thing for the taps, and we ended up going with the 1532 drill bit. for aluminum. That's what it said that was needed. Now we just tapped this, and we're about to check to see if we even tapped it straight, because it kind of doesn't look straight. But we'll take it off. So it's a little off. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit the side with the flap wheel until it seats properly, because it's just a little off. I mean, you're not really gonna be able to see this. So that's the fix for this. See right there, there's a gap on this side, there's no gap on that side. This is what we came up with. The 1/2 inch aluminum. Let me see that little piece. We cut it into 4 pieces just to go all around the edge to seal it up and to space it off of the radiator. So now that gives us like about a finger gap between these tabs and the actual aluminum. So this is what we got. And it's a 8-foot piece. Cut it down. We use some rivets to rivet it to the aluminum fan shroud. Now we're gonna use this on the edge. We got these with some speakers we ordered on eBay, and we're gonna put that along the edge before we bolt it up to the aluminum, to the radiator, and then we could actually mount the thing onto this. So we're almost done with this. This kind of sealed it off a little bit. You can still see a little bit of a gap, but we still have to make some like little legs down here or something. Maybe rivet some flat stock and then just bend it and bolt it up to this, so it won't flop around. But now we're gonna test fit it on the truck and see if we have enough clearance to be able to fit it in front of the water pump. We also cleaned this up. We washed this and we put some new split loom here. We marked where the where the relay pack is in the slip. Right here. It's gonna be a super tight fit. We have about a finger in between the water pump and the motor for the electric fan. That's with this being cut off. If not, it would have been probably coming in contact with that. So we're gonna still pull this all the way back, and we have to make the little legs for the bottom so it could hold it in place. We also fit these little spaces in between the bolts and the nut, and you'll find some longer bolts just to secure this on here nicer. So this is what we came up with. The radiator is upside down right now. You can see the Volvo logo right there. But we made these little legs and they just slide in here. This one's a little shorter. Should have craned this one down a little bit, but just so it won't flop around in here. Pretty good. I don't think it's gonna vibrate that much. We still need some longer screws right here, and then I think we should be done, at least for this. I'm gonna look for those screws right now so we could throw this radiator in the truck. We have the condenser on now. You can see where when they tried to mount it the first time, the bolt came in contact up here, and now we have 4 self-tappers with the piece of metal on the back. Also on this side, this is like the little piece that we have on the other side, but we have it on the back side. And then on this side, it's actually off of this. The line isn't touching right here, it isn't touching up here. It's pretty sturdy right there. We are gonna pull these off and get some rivets on here just to make it look a little cleaner. On the back side, we have to chop off this bolt because we did kind of hit the radiator with it right there. So we have to fix all these. Hopefully it didn't go through right here, because that condenser went all the way to the back and I wasn't able to catch it on time, and it damaged this. Oh, I hope it doesn't leak. Try to straighten these out as much as I can. Damn, pretty bad. Worst case, we're gonna have to order another radiator from eBay and just swap the electric fan over. All these are a little bent as well. It's gonna take a while. I'm gonna try to fix these, and I'm gonna mount the transmission cooler up here in the front, like right there. Figure out that right now. I'm gonna figure that out right now. I'm gonna remove this bracket and possibly make another little bracket for the bottom, and probably try to reuse this one up top. So once we're done with that, I'm gonna throw the radiator in, and hopefully it doesn't leak. For now, we're just gonna leave this here like that. We actually put a 10mm bolt with the little spacer. That spacer was on the radiator. That's just to keep the transmission cooler off of this brace. And then in here, we tack welded 4 spots, and we just spray painted it just so it won't look that ugly. We chopped off the tips of the self tappers. Now we're gonna throw the radiator in and start hooking everything back up. So we put some paint on this side and on that side. We also re-drilled this hole just like about 1/2 inch up. So now it's tight against the radiator support. Well, on this side it's kind of hitting right there. I think we should be good. And then we're just gonna hook up the lower radiator hose, and then we're gonna run to AutoZone and get some coolant and a 30 amp fuse that hopefully we're able to mount right here, right under the fuse box. And this is all the hardware that we were able to remove. Types of screws and stuff. All this plus all that, and this thing fits a little better. This was actually made by the previous owner so he could run the AC line, and we made it fit, and it's all level all the way across. This is also level, makes more clearance. It was a little lower, so now it's a little higher. And yeah, so we just need to get the coolant and hook up everything else and the relays and stuff, and then we'll probably have it we'll probably be testing it by tonight. So now we're gonna put the adapter. I think this is the best place to put it right now, because we have to run the wires across over the fan and over to the relay. So I'm gonna just cut right here, right in the middle, and then I'm gonna put this in between, and there's 2 clamps that came with the adapter that we're gonna use. Just like right here. We're gonna have to chop off a little bit so we could remove this kink from the line. This is gonna face sideways towards the relays, so we'll go ahead and cut off a little more on this side and maybe on this side just to make it straight. So we're gonna use distilled water because we got a gallon of concentrated coolant. We're gonna do 1/2 gallon of water and 1/2 gallon of coolant. This is the coolant that we went with from AutoZone. It's for GM cars and all that. This is the orange coolant. So we're gonna do 1/2 of this. Okay, so for the power side, we picked this up at AutoZone. This is the battery side, and this is the aux side. It's just the 30 amp fuse. And we're gonna mount it here, right under the battery, like that. And then we're gonna run power either to this or to this, or maybe even straight to the battery. So I'm gonna just use some self tappers to get it in place, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're almost done. We got this tight. We wired this to the fan. We're just using this for now because we zip tied the relay pack down here. We have to figure out a way to mount that to the fan shroud. Once we do that, we're gonna shorten all these cables, and we're gonna clean this up. Well, at least on this side. This side already has the heat shrink. It goes up here to the battery terminal right there with the heat shrink. Makes it look cleaner. And like I said, this is gonna be it's all gonna be shortened out. Also, these cables are gonna be routed here neatly to the temperature switch. But for now, we're just gonna zip tie it to this. We don't want to cut it because we don't know exactly what length we're gonna use. So we're trying to zip tie it to this hose so it can be out of the way. And then right now we're gonna ground this somewhere. I don't know exactly where. This is the last wire that needs to be grounded before we actually test this out. And we're gonna put the intake tube back on, and then we should be ready to fire it up and top this off. Hopefully we don't need that much more coolant. That's all we have left, and that was a gallon of distilled water and a gallon of concentrated antifreeze. We grounded the fan, well, the temperature switch to this bolt if we did it right. We went based off of the wiring diagram online. So this one right here is T1, T2, and then it says 0 up there, so that I'm pretty sure it's ground. This one is temperature, first temperature, second temperature. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on right now and let it warm up, and hopefully the fan turns on. We're gonna speed up the clip right now. All right, so we're about to turn it off because it's already almost 3/4 of the way up and the fans haven't kicked on. We removed the plug and we gave it ground earlier, and the fans turned on. So we are thinking it's the temperature switch. We also made sure that the ground right there on that bolt was grounded, and it is. We're thinking maybe it came off or something, but it looks like it's actually giving it ground straight from that bolt. We switched the temperature switch right now. We put a different one. Hopefully this one turns on. How much is it? Half? It's half? Well, that's not turning on. I don't know what's going on with this. We topped off the coolant, everything is good. I don't know, maybe this is not a good enough ground or something. So I don't know what happened, but it might just be the ground issue. We're holding it here to the bolt. It recorded the gauge. So we just fixed the ground right here a little bit better. Like I said, we're gonna redo these wires once we figure out the relay situation, so we could route them nicely. And we might even zip tie them to here once we're done, or to the fan. But that's on the first speed. We're gonna drive it like this for a bit, and then once we know that it's working, like we want it to work, then it'll be permanent. I'll put the cover back on for now. Last night we switched out the temperature switch, and the fan actually turned on. So I'm gonna let it warm up and then see if it turns on. Give you guys a quick rundown. So the Volvo fan and the relay pack, we got it from like a early to mid 90s Volvo. And then the temperature switch came from a BMW, also like mid 90s BMW. We got it with the pigtail. So that's 3 grounds. One of them we ran it to this bolt. The other 2, well, each one is for a 1 speed or a 2nd speed. It works off of 2 temperature settings. And we got the adapter on Amazon. We just cut the hose and we put it right there. And then we got one of these. We got a little bit of overspray because we spray painted this. We got one of the little relay things from AutoZone. It's a 30 amp. We went directly to the battery, which I'm not sure if we're gonna keep it like that or if we're going to put it on ignition switch, because it stays running after you turn off the fan. I mean the truck. You can see how close it is to the water pump. It's like about half an inch to 3/4 of an inch away from the water pump. We also need a little bit of this rubber thing to seal off the top. Not a big deal, but at least we got most of it sealed all the way to the bottom and all that. We did the ground on the fan to this bolt right here, and we left this connection just in case we have to pull it off. We could just leave the ground on the frame and pull disconnect that plug and disconnect the relay pack, and then we're good. Once we find a way to mount that relay pack onto the shroud, then we'll clean up the wiring, the power run. What else? So this thing operates off of 2 temperatures, like I said before. Last night we were only able to get 1 temperature on here, and we need to top this off. And not the second temperature hasn't kicked in. But worst case scenario, if that ever goes out, we could just pull the plug, pull one of the cables, and then just ground it, and the fan will stay on. Let me show you guys the temperature gauge. It turns on like when it gets to like halfway. That's when it kicked on last night. I'm gonna top off the radiator for now, and then we'll see. Let's see what happens. So now it's not even getting to operate in temperature yet because we haven't been driving it, and also the coolant wasn't the best, the one that we drained from this radiator, so maybe that's why it would heat up even a little faster. But before we did this, I'm trying to get it on camera when it kicks on. Had to rev it a little bit just to get the fan to kick on. We also welded the shaft to the water pump pulley. We ran a couple of tacks here and there, and then we cleaned it up a little bit. I'm about to make the bracket for this, and then that should be pretty much it. I'm gonna leave the front clip off because we're gonna do the headlights next. But for this video, that'll be it. We got this to work. We're gonna drive it around like this until we figure that out, like I said. And make sure to check us out on Instagram at Yonka_OXE Films. We'll catch you guys on the next one.